The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hey everyone, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So today's podcast, and actually the next 12, I'm going to be going over each of the topics that I cover in my coaching course. My idea with this is that I can help the most people possible, and you can get a sampling of exactly what I teach in my course. So I hope that you enjoy these next 12 podcasts because they're really for you. My idea with creating these tools was that, there's only one of me, and these are the tools that I use with myself and with my clients. So if I can record it, if I can get it on video, if I can find a way to share it with people, then they can use these tools to find greater peace in their lives, solve deep mysteries within themselves, and connect to themselves and their community. So I hope that you enjoy, and let me know if you have any feedback. You can email me, Erin at erincoach.com, and enjoy. Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So I am continuing on with my series on the topics that I cover in my coaching course. And 2 so far that I've done are the clear formula, where you learn how to solve any problem, plug it in at any point in the formula, and you can also flip it, which might be bonus material I didn't talk about in the first podcast, but it is a very valuable tool. And the second one that I did was processing emotions, which is super important. So managing your mind, processing your emotions, and what I got for you today is super helpful. And I think that this topic today makes me a lot different from other life coaches, and especially coach courses, because I've taught yoga teacher trainings for almost 10 years, and I have started teaching, certifying coaches. I've had people requesting this of me for years, and I finally was like, all right, let's do this. I'm 110% in. Let's do it right. So what I'm talking about today is pranayama coaching techniques. So what is pranayama? So prana is life force within the body. Some might say like chi. We call it prana in yoga. And ayama is to lengthen. So yama means death. So ayama, if you see an a in front of any Sanskrit word, it's usually like the opposite of. So the opposite of death or lengthening. So life lengthening. But in layman's terms, we would say breath work. And so pranayama, breath work. I include this in my course because sometimes you have people come to you in different states. And rather than battling their mind, if they're like overwhelmed in a whirl and their mind is just taking them on a ride, and if you're an aspiring coach, or even if this is you and you're like, I don't even know how to coach myself, I can't even think straight. So pranayama is the answer for a lot of different ailments. So I have a couple of breath techniques to talk about today. So I'm going to get right into it. So ujjayi, also known as I talk about it in my book, which is coming up, but my course is yogi breath is what I've nicknamed it. So ujjayi, I talk about a lot on this podcast because it is basic breath and it is so helpful. It is like your baseline. Keep going back to ujjayi breath. If you get ujjayi, you will be a happy person. And I like to tell people, like, if you learn nothing else in my courses, if I taught you how to breathe correctly, I have done you a service. So Ujjayi is victorious breath, and it helps us learn how to regulate our breath, slow it down, and lengthen it. So just like ayama, like lengthening. So it sounds like this. So you notice that I sounded like an ocean wave. I've done that in yoga classes, not at my studio, and like different places. And people have been like, where is that sound coming from? So I learned how to breathe really well in some of the trainings that I took. I started with an Ashtanga background, and it really served me well. One of the best things I took away from that training was learning how to breathe deeply and regulating my breath. So we breathe in and out through the nose in yoga because it helps us to moisturize the breath so that if it's moist, your body's going to absorb it more easily, right? And also your nose helps to filter toxins, helps to filter out any dust, any little particles that might otherwise like go in through your mouth. When you breathe in and out through the nose, you also have a little bit more control as far as how to regulate the breath, meaning you can lengthen it. You can make it sort of thin. You can constrict like the back of your throat as the breath comes in through both nostrils. You can create the airway a little bit smaller, a little bit broader, right? You can kind of use your tongue to kind of direct those already small little jet streams, and then you can direct it down into the lower lobes of your lungs where the most oxygen exchange takes place. So just that in itself is probably enough to be like, okay, yeah, all right. If you have had the pleasure of reading the book by James Nestor, which I recommended for my 300 level teacher training, he talks about the importance of breathing in and out through your nose versus mouth breathing. And it's a pretty amazing difference. I mean, people's health goes way up when they breathe in and out through their nose. And when they breathe in and out through their mouth, it's like their health declines. So one more thing I'll mention is when you breathe in and out through your nose slowly using this Ujjayi breath, is that you are able to regulate your nervous system and drop more into the parasympathetic response, which is your rest and digest, but also your spiritual purging type of breath, meaning that when you breathe in and out through your nose and your body is in a calm state, it is able to let go of the trauma wrapped around it. You're able to not attach to the stories anymore. So I can go on and on about why breath is important. So the first breath, Ujjayi, I've given you the sound, how to create that. So the way I teach it is to take your hand in front of your mouth and just like you're trying to smell your breath, inhale through your nose and go like you're trying to fog up a mirror, and then try to really lengthen the breath. So take a deep breath in. It's safe to do no matter what you're doing pretty much. Inhale and try to lengthen it. I could go even longer, but I don't want it to be like weird on the receiving end, like, oh, it's weird in my ears. So you can make it really long. So you inhale through your nose, exhale out through your mouth, practice that a few times. Then when you're like, okay, I got this. Then try to make that same sound and feeling out through your nose. So I'm going to inhale through my nose. I let it go a little bit longer that time just to show you what's possible. I can go longer too. But so that's the first part of the breath. Now, some people are going to stop there, and like, if you learn how to do that, that will change your day. Like, that'll be great. Practice that throughout the day. If you want to go to the next step is the inhale. So the way that I teach this typically is you would open up your mouth and take what I call creepy breath. So it's creating that same sound and vibration, but with your mouth open. Inhale. right? If you do that, it's not pleasant. Like all of a sudden your mouth gets dry and you're like, ew. But if you can create that same sound and that same feeling with the mouth closed, so then you start getting the sense of ujjayi. Now, if you can only get the exhale, like you don't have to get frustrated. It took me 6 months to learn how to do this. I didn't really have the best guide, me. And I just kind of picked this stuff up as I went. And then I had a proper teacher and they kind of refined it for me. But this is how I do ujjayi, and it is life-changing. So even if you sit for a few moments and practice this breath, it will serve you so well. So practice that throughout the day. Now, the next breath I want to talk about is Nadi Shodhana. So Nadi Shodhana is an alternate nostril breathing, and you might hear some yogis talk about Anuloma Viloma, which is similar, but Nadi Shodhana has the distinction of a little pause at the top and a full exhale. It also has a distinction of breathing in through one nostril, and rather than just alternating back and forth, is inhaling through one, exhaling through the other. And you do that I usually do about 15 times. You could do maybe 20 and then switch to the other nostril. So now some people have chronic sinus issues. If you have sinusitis and you're trying to plug one nostril and breathe in through the other, it can cause anxiety. Like it can make you feel like maybe this isn't for me. So if that's the case, you can just use the power of your mind to imagine breathing in through one nostril, little pause at the top, and then exhaling out through the other nostril. Your mind is powerful, and if we had a measuring device to see if that was really happening, I can guarantee that you would be inhaling at least slightly more through one nostril and exhaling out through the other more. So if you can plug the nostrils, traditionally you would take your thumb on one, and then you would have your index and middle fingers kind of pressing onto the third eye, the Anya chakra. And then if and when you switch, you would use the ring finger on the opposite nostril. So I have some videos coming up on my social media that goes over some of these breaths. If you're kind of like, yeah, you lost me, I get it. It's kind of hard to not have a visual for this particular pranayama. So I'm not going to go over it too much here, but there will be resources if you follow us on social media. So Instagram is Thrive with Erin, and Facebook is Thrive with Erin. The website Thrive with Erin. So Thrive with Erin is sort of like my new label. So check that out. It's also known as clearing and balancing breath. So lion's breath. Lion's breath is a breath that I use with people who have a lot of accumulated fear. It's also a breath that I do kind of organically before I do deep back bends because it releases fear around the heart. So lion's breath, the Sanskrit is Simhasana breath. And it's how do I describe this? You inhale through your nose. And when you exhale, you stick your tongue out, you look up at your third eye, and you just like, and you keep going until you've exhaled out every last drop of breath from your lungs. Then you repeat it about 5 times. So it's not the most glamorous looking pranayama, but it can really be helpful also if you have overwhelm. But mostly I use it for if I have fear, or again, if I have some caution in doing some deeper back bends, I will use this breath so that I can access my heart space a little bit more. So it's a great releasing breath. And I teach this in my course, in my yoga teacher trainings, as well as in my coaching course. And again, exhaling out every last drop of breath is pivotal in this type of pranayama because that is where the fear resides. If you read the yogic spiritual texts, they talk about how that's where the last drops of toxins are. That's where the fear resides. And that's what I've been taught too. This is kind of validating to read it in the sacred texts as well. So that one can be super helpful. Again, lion's breath, Simhasana, inhale through your nose. Open up your mouth real wide, stick out your tongue, and all the way until that last drop of breath leaves your lungs. So, and you'll find that when you do that, you can also breathe deeper and expand more. So you're letting go of any residual toxins, any cyclical thinking, and inviting in new, fresh energy. Another breath that I teach is Kapalabhati breathing. This particular breath technique I have used as recommendation for clients who have trouble either waking up early to start their new routines, or it's like they suddenly feel tired when they sit down and do a clear formula or have to do a task. Now, just a reminder, our egos are powerful. And sometimes we will get like bodily sensations caused by subconscious belief patterns and programming in the mind. And this can impact us in real time and kind of shut us down and sabotage our efforts, right? So I had one client who, she needed to get things up on her website. She needed to do her taxes. And every time she went to go do it, all of a sudden, she gets sleepy. And so what we did was okay, set a timer, let yourself rest for 5-10 minutes. And when you let yourself rest, it's not like you're thinking about all the things you have to do. It's okay, set a timer and give yourself permission, 10 minutes, you get to chill. So we did that and that helped, but then she was still kind of dragging her feet and that tired sensation came up. So I gave her this breath, energizing breath, Kapalabhati breath, where you will inhale through your nose and exhale. And you do that usually I do usually a round of 54 breaths, half of 108. And then the last breath, I would inhale and hold and then exhale out when I felt a little bit of lightness, a little bit of energy moving. So with Kapalabhati breathing, you want to inhale through your nose and then the exhale is a little bit forceful. So the inhale happens and the exhale is very forceful. And it's almost like a pump. So that's what it sounds like. You can do it a little bit faster. And the fast one has the energizing effect. It sounds like this. So I'm lightly pumping my diaphragm. There's a different type of Kapalabhati breathing. In different styles of yoga, they might call this something different, but it's also known as Kapalabhati breath 1 and 2. The second one's a little bit deeper. It sounds like this. Right, so then I'm really pumping my diaphragm and the effect's a little bit different. It's more of a detoxing breath. They're both super helpful, but if you are struggling with energy, like waking up to do your yoga practice or start new routines, or again, you're like, why do I get this wave of tired every time I try to do a thing? Well, like I mentioned, your ego is powerful and this will help you to start moving prana through you, moving energy through you so that you can, actually that was just a little block in energy, a little block in my mind, right? It's all connected. And now I have the energy and motivation to actually tackle my day. I use this breath often. I had a friend who I used to say, yeah, it's like a cup of coffee. And he's like, stop saying that. It is not like a cup of coffee. I was like, all right, it's not coffee, but it is, the more that we can become self-reliant and rely less on things outside of ourselves, like delicious coffee, the more sustainable our life becomes. What if you don't have coffee? What if you don't have access to it? Or what if you have acid reflux and you need to take a break from it? Or what if you're taking a silent retreat like Erin is and you cut out caffeine for those days, but you still want to get up and do your breath work and your meditation and not fall asleep? So for me, Kapalabhati breathing. And this is a technique, again, you can incorporate in your life. It just takes a few rounds of this. A lot of times I'll do 5 5 is a good amount of rounds for me when I do these types of breathings. And I do 54 breaths. You can go a little bit longer if you want. And then just notice the effect after each round. So if you want to try this with me, we'll go through a round. So take a deep breath in. Exhale out about halfway. And begin. Inhale. Little hold at the top. If you're driving or something like that, don't hold it for very long. Lengthen and slowly exhale in a slow, steady stream. And you might notice that, I don't know, things have shifted a little bit. You feel a little bit more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And imagine what will happen if you do 5 rounds of this. So I encourage you to try that one. It is not a cup of coffee, but it certainly energizes you and it gets energy moving, which is important. The last breath I want to talk about is called kumbhaka. And there's 2 kinds that I will talk about, kumbhaka puraka, kumbhaka rechaka. So this is a breath retention. Now, disclaimer, if you have blood pressure issues, if you, like you have adrenal issues to where all of a sudden like you get dizzy, please use caution with this breath, and definitely do not use this breath if you're driving, because you can have a moment of whoa, your reality shifts a little bit. So please use this breath when you're at home, when you're seated, somewhere safe. So kumbhaka breath. So kumbhaka puraka is when you inhale and hold it, and kumbhaka rechaka is when you exhale and hold it. There's different effects. BKS Iyengar would say when you do kumbhaka and you take a deep inhale and hold it, it is like lovers embracing, right? So it's like Purusha and Prakriti coming together, like the absolute potential of the universe and creation, like loving, embracing each other. And then the exhale retention is them becoming one. So they're both valuable, they're both wonderful, and I find a lot more peace with the exhale hold, like it drops me into a meditative state, but the inhale hold I find more energizing, more uplifting. So to perform this breath, maybe you would start with a little bit of Ujjayi breath, the yogi breath I taught you earlier, and then when you're ready, again, you're seated, you're not driving, you're not doing something that needs your attention. You're just doing pranayama. You would fully exhale, take a deep breath in, hold it at the top, soften your shoulders, relax your collarbones, relax your face, and slowly exhale. And just notice how you feel, if you feel a little bit lighter, if you feel like you've moved some energy in your body. If you do this version of kumbhaka, again, 5 is the magic number. So the exhale kumbhaka, we'll take a deep breath in, fully exhale, and hold. Soften your body. Try to relax. And when you feel ready, take a deep breath in and exhale. And so notice the difference from one to the other. I find the second one is just more, it's like a spiritual union, kind of like how I described earlier. And the first one is more, like an internal hug. It's almost like, it's like you hold the breath. And so the breath is like pressing against your organs, like expanding and stretching your lungs. So like that is super pleasant. And then the exhale is just like, like making union with the divine. So maybe I'm a weird yoga person, but I love pranayama. I think it's a very useful tool. You can use it for different things. So the kumbhaka, I use it if I have cyclical thinking, if I feel like I need to just shift my state in a big way. It's super helpful. And again, these tools like the pranayama makes you self-reliant, self-sufficient. It is tools that you can use to get out of your head quickly. And the coolest thing is that you can always do it. Like you can pretty much always do this. You can even, if you're like, okay, I work an office job, go to the bathroom. Like, who cares? Like, run the water. Like, so, these are techniques that you can use to heal yourself, to ground yourself. There is one or two other techniques that I teach in my course, but I guess you would have to take it to find out. Now, I'll probably share it on the podcast, but I hope that this podcast is helping you. I have gotten a barrage of letters and emails recently, just people telling me, hey, you affect a lot more people than you realize. You've been helping me for years. And if you feel that way and you've never reached out to me, just so you know, I really appreciate hearing that. When I record these podcasts, it's like me and my microphone, and it's just me. So I know that I have like 10,000 listeners a month, which is pretty rad. But like, as far as hearing from you guys, like I love to hear from you. If you haven't left a review, please do that. I love reading the new reviews. And I think that's it. I will leave you with that. I hope you have a fantastic week. If you are local, we have a yoga teacher training coming up in February 25th. And if you are, you don't have to be local for this one, the coach certification coming up in August 20th to the 28th. Clear formula, emotional processing, pranayama, avatar work, the dropper technique, shadow work, healing inner child, manifestation station, cultivating your goals, and much more. So if you're curious about that and you want to become a certified coach and help people and serve to the highest while healing yourself and transmuting your own suffering and pain into something beautiful, that's what I help people do. So I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Namaste. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning, and not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.